see. All right, I think we're live. Yay, good morning, guys. Let me just do a little multitasking here. Okay, cool. It is live in Zoom. Holy hell, I look tired. Well, I am. So I am going live through Zoom, and what I'm gonna do real quick is I wanna share my screen. We're getting so tech fancy here. Hold on one second. Actually, before I do that, let me just say hi and kind of introduce myself for a minute, because we haven't formally met, many of you. So I am Liz Detterer, and I actually founded this group, Networking and Events in Connecticut, because many moons ago when I started my business, I was in a mom's group and I had a business question that I typed in there, and they were like, you can't talk about business in here. And I was like, then I'm going to go Frank Sinatra style and I'm going to do it my way. And I started this group, and really it's just kind of grown organically. And the fact that we're over 1,000 members is just like mind blowing. So love you guys for that, and love seeing all the events and, you know, the different comments that are going on in here, and the different postings and about the type of businesses that are in here. Love, love, love that. So obviously now we're a little event slow, right? Except for the online ones. And seeing the type of businesses that you guys have, and me being a small business strategist, founder and CEO of Selling with Service, I thought, I have this training that I've been doing for different networking groups. And I was like, you've got your own group, Liz, jump in there. So that's what I'm going to talk about today is how do you really pivot through this wild time for profit? Because many of us, and myself included, right, we're all in this together, our businesses dried up overnight, like done, right? Because my clients are small business owners, right? So a lot of my clients were like, shit, Liz, what do I do? And I was like, I get it. You got to keep the lights on. You got to, you know, whatever, pay your employees. So yeah, so a lot of us just overnight, you know, really have been just, I don't need to tell you guys, you know, just so wrecked by this. So I have some ideas about things that you can do, different ways to look at your business right now, and different things you can do for the now, just to generate some income, kind of get you out of your head, not out of your home, but out of like the sitting around, what do I do with myself today? So some ways that you can, you know, refocus yourself profitably. So I am going to go into share my screen now. I know I keep saying that, but I can't figure out how. Hopefully I didn't just screw that up. Hold on a second, because I just closed out of Facebook. So let me make sure that you guys are still there. Looks like it is. I just closed out of Facebook, but hopefully that didn't screw anything up. Nope, it looks like we're still good. Okay, cool. So, all right, let me do a screen share. Just had like a mild heart attack. Got this. And I've got my phone up here so that I can see what you guys see. So I want to make sure that we've got it here. Wait till it comes up. There we go. Oh, it's so fancy. All right. You know what's cool about this time too is that like any semblance of like, I should figure this out, I should know how to do this is like so fucking out the window. We're all just like figuring out like we're newborn babies every single day. It's like, what am I doing here? So, you know, there's your permission slip. Okay, cool. I see it up on the screen. Awesome sauce. Cool, guys. Okay, so we're doing the full screen share. I can see you guys in my phone up here, and I'm just going to focus here. Let me actually open this and then mute it so we don't have double voice. Nope, I gotta turn you off. Awesome. Good morning, Simone. Hello, sunshine. Yes, thank you. So let's kind of jump into this. You know, this is, like I said, we're pivoting for profit, just kind of sharing some practical actions for uncertain times. And just for a time check, when I did this training yesterday, it was about 25, 30 minutes. So just so that you have kind of a time check on that. For those of you who are here live, thank you for joining. And for those of you who are catching the replay, just kind of comment #replay below. All right, so let's get going. So a little bit about who I am. So, because again, we haven't, you know, met many of you. So I'm Liz Detterer. I'm the CEO of Selling with Service. And I've pivoted a few times, more than a few times. So my first business was actually flipping clothes before it was cool. This is going back about 20 years ago. I was working as a personal shopper's assistant, and I left there. I left playing fashion to go work in an office job. I thought that's what I had to do at the time, in my early 20s. And I hated it. I hated the office job, and I really missed playing with clothes. So I reached back out to the clients that I had in personal shopping, and I knew that they valued the closet space more than the clothes that they weren't necessarily wearing, so that they had room to go buy new stuff. So I was like, oh, opportunity. And this thing called eBay was just kind of starting. So I was like, oh, why don't I go clean out their closets for a fee? And then I'll take the clothes that they don't want, that we agree that they don't want anymore, and then I'll take them and I'll sell them on eBay. So that's what I did 20 years ago. And I had to sit there with my gateway computer and the Gucci bag and, my HTML for Dummies book, so I could figure out, like, because that was back in the day, before apps or anything like that, before you could take a picture with your phone and upload an item. It was very, very clunky. Um, but that was when, in order to make your listing really pop, you had to make it like MySpace fancy. And in order to do that, you had to know HTML. So that's what I did. That was my first business 20 years ago. It was always kind of my side hustle along my career. As my career started to grow in retail, working in stores, then I was in wholesale, vice president of sales and marketing for a casual luxury brand. And then I was in executive search, placing senior retail executives within the retail space. And that was right at the time of the last recession. So at that time, I start working for this search agency. I love them. They taught me so much about how to run a company from the people side and the business side, of course, but just really people focused, and taught me that humans come first over anything else. Just didn't teach me, but validated in me, because that's always been within me. So that was awesome. But then, we're just constricting, right? It's during the last recession. We have tons of executives to place, but nowhere to place them. So at that time also, I met my ex, my daughter's father, and we started dating. So I'm kind of losing my job and my sense of everything, and we start dating, and he's a carpenter, a subcontractor for somebody else. And seeing all of this going on, and now I'm not working there anymore, I saw what he was doing, and I was like, instead of being a sub for somebody else at a dollar per hour rate, and you're basically running the jobs, like, why don't you go get your own jobs? You're doing it anyways. So I built him the brand, I built him the website, got the logo, did all the marketing, started to go out and actually, then get him some jobs, kitchens, bathrooms, decks, that sort of thing. And through that networking, is when we came across a real estate investor. First, we started doing jobs, just, being the lead contracting team on her jobs. And then over time started to kind of do our own flips. And looking back, it's all beautiful in hindsight. Rode the recession up and da 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 da. It sounds beautiful looking back, but at the time it was a clunky disaster. Working from home, and the little one comes in and she knows she's not supposed to be in here. Out, out, chicken, out.
I'm trying to find shoes.
Well, you've got shoes out there. The joys. So we're starting to kind of ride the recession up by flipping houses, and we had to pivot then. At the time, I'm also getting a sense of who he really is, an alcoholic, not someone that I really want to, continue with. But at this point, I'm pregnant, and I'm realizing that I've got to get myself out of this situation. So while and things are starting to pick back up in the economy, so I was able to get a full-time job back in retail at actually the Carter's and Oshkosh corporate headquarters. I was writing their training program that you'll see, and well, you shouldn't see it in the stores, but it's in the stores. So that was my last corporate job. So I'm working there full time. I'm pregnant. I'm helping him with his business. And I decided I've got to do my own thing. Because I had had a little bit of like the HTML experience from my first business, flipping clothes on eBay. Web design was not that foreign to me. And I knew, listening to what's out there in the marketplace, because I had been networking for his business to get him clients, I heard what was out there, that small business owners at the time, this is about 10 years ago, At the time, small business owners really had their hands tied when it came to marketing. The web designers were charging like rent for websites at the time because the technology sucked and it did require a lot of work, but it was really high prices to be charging small business owners, in my opinion. I connected with a company that had a proprietary software. They were basically giving the keys to the business owners. To edit their own software. This is before Wix. This is before Weebly. This is before GoDaddy, guys. So this was kind of like the first one on the scene. So I was able to sell this to small business owners and help them get affordable websites that they could edit themselves and not have to pay a web designer $150, $200 every time that they wanted to update something. So that's what I started that ultimately got me out of corporate and allowed me to become a single mom. Kind of grew into a marketing agency and listening to clients. I want you to listen to a few themes that I have here that you're going to see throughout the rest of this. Listening to the clients that I was working with and kind of hearing the themes that were out there, I realized that, they were saying to me directly, like, we don't even want the website, Liz. We actually want to know, like, how did you think about that? What was your strategy for that? How did you say that in that conversation? They wanted my brain, not my websites. And my ego was bruised, but I survived the trauma. And that's where I've shifted into where I am now as a small business strategist, really focusing on sales. Right. Because that's what it comes down to. So that's what I do now is I help entrepreneurs and small business owners basically flip ideas for services and profits. So I say all that to say I've pivoted multiple times. I get what we're going through. I've done this before and again and again. So I'm going to lay out some things that I think you guys can kind of take advantage of right now for pivoting with the marketplace. And the first thing before we get into the tactics is you need to understand right now that you have to pivot with purpose. If you pivot through a scared, frenetic, insane lens of like, oh my God, chicken little, the sky is falling, you're going to have those results, right? If you pivot from a place of fear, you're going to vibe a lot of that in. This is as mindset-y as we're going to get, by the way. There's tactic after this for sure. But I have to start here. So you have to pivot with purpose. And I'm going to give you some buckets to think of for kind of what your purpose needs to look like. But here's a great time, guys. I know it's pandemic, it's crazy, it's all this other stuff, but we're actually, and we're being given a gift. And this is not to say I am not talking about the people who are sick right now and dying, and I'm not saying at all that that is a gift. You know for sure that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is for those of us who are healthy right now, thank God, we have a space, we have a socially accepted pause right now, huge, big old pause. This is a time to take full inventory, not of your product and that's not the inventory I mean, though if you need to do that, now's a great time to do that anyways. What I mean by inventory is, and I'm going to give you 4 buckets to look at in which you can take inventory in, but what was working for you and what wasn't working for you pre-pandemic, right? Because we have such a tendency to just kind of muscle through shit like, well, it's my business, so I have to make it work. And this is what I'm doing right now to put food on the table, so I have to do it, right? These are the clients that I've been going after, and that's who I'm working with, so I have to serve them, right? There's so much like have to and should energy. This is a great opportunity to pivot with purpose and say, you know what? None of that shit was working for me, so I'm going to do something completely different right now. So I'm going to give you some categories to look at. And one of the things that I want you to take into consideration as we're talking about pivoting is that we're not talking about throwing out the whole baby with the bathwater, but if that's what you want to do, fucking do it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're in a pandemic. There is a lot of uncertainty. Hashtag duh. We don't know for sure when this will end. We do know for sure that it will end. And we do know for sure we're smart women, smart men, smart business owners, smart adults. We do know for sure when this does end, it's not going to be, oh, look, the sun is shining. We can go outside and everything's happy and normal again. We know that's not the case. We're going to end and probably have some sort of a graduated reentry back into society as we kind of knew it. That's going to be different. And we're going to be stepping into a recession. So everything's going to be different. So I say that to say, as we're going through this kind of pivot conversation right now, it's not a forever unless you want to just completely get rid of the business that you had and scrap it. It's just a for now to get scrappy and kind of look at some different, ideas that you can do, how to pivot for profitability through this, albeit elongated, but period of time that will end at some point. So just to give you a container. So let's get through the 4 categories that you can kind of take an inventory and see what's working and what's not. Anyone who's been to one of my presentations before has heard me talk about this. Anyone who's in sales school has heard me talk about this, the 4 currencies of conversation. And why this is really important right now is because it gives you these 4 categories to look at to say what's working for me and what's not. So I use the acronym TEMP, like temperature, which none of us have, thank God. Nice and low, healthy. So I use the acronym TEMP, and you can see right here, time, energy, money, and people are the 4 currencies of conversation. And then I break that down even further, just for kind of mental clarity, and it's easy to distill it down: soft currency and hard currency. Soft currency is the energy and people, the really non-quantifiable. If it feels good, I'm enjoying myself, I like these people, excuse me, that sort of thing. And hard currency, time, money, actual numbers, right? That's what I mean by time, by hard and soft currency. So time, energy, money, and people. And this is an opportunity for you to take an honest to God inventory of your life, business, etc., pre-pandemic. What was working for you and what wasn't in these categories. I heard a great phrase, expression, and I think it was Lisa Nichols that said it, that you can't, we hear like your cup runneth over, and you can't pour from an empty cup, and we understand that concept. You cannot pour from an empty cup. But what Lisa Nichols shared, which is so brilliant, is that you shouldn't even be pouring from your cup. That's your cup that you need to keep filled. Where you should be giving from is the overflow. When your cup runneth over and it goes into the saucer of the teacup, that's what you need to be giving from, the overflow. So this is an opportunity to take inventory of the time, energy, money, and people in your life pre-pandemic. Where were you giving your time? And I'll share in total transparency, because this was not a fun fact once I got done and I did my own. You guys have those friends that give you the advice and it's actually your words coming back at you. Love them and hate them. I had that happen to me. And they were like, oh, I think someone had said to me, there's 4 currencies that you should probably take inventory of. And I'm like, I didn't want to hear that right now. I just wanted to be mad. But anywho, my words came back at me like a brick in the face, and I had to take my own inventory. So I share with you this because I just did it myself. And what I realized is that pre-pandemic, my time, I was spending like 80% of it doing things that were getting me 20% of the results. Ugh. That was a hard truth I had to look at, right? Because overnight, my calendar cleared up from all the networking events, all the conversations that I was having with people, all the different things. Conversations are great, but all the networking events that I was going to that weren't actually moving things actually forward, 80% of my time getting me 20% of the results. Not how that equation works. It's not the Pareto principle that you want to operate by. You want to spend 20% of your time getting 80% of the results. So I had that a little backwards. So here's the opportunity to take inventory. How was your money before, right? Where was your energy before? What were the people like before? What of that do you want to continue? What of that was working? And what of that are you like, fuck it, throwing that baby out with the bathwater? The other thing to take into consideration under this whole kind of pivot for profit, and this goes under really the money bucket right now, is as we're projecting forward, and from a container perspective of kind of how we need to plan out right now, we're at the beginning of the second quarter, right? We need to be doing our quarterly planning, even though we're in a pandemic. We still have life, we still have bills, we still have all this other stuff. We still need to be doing the things that we know work, which is planning. We need to put together our Q2 plan. And what a perfect time, because it's the beginning of the second quarter. And with this pandemic, I think it's a responsible thing to look at, kind of take into consideration that this real pressure cooker that we're in right now is going to be about 90 days of real flux and insanity, right? Nobody wants to hear that. It's not going to end by Easter. Sorry. It's, put a realistic time frame of about 90 days on it. And in that, the first tactical thing you want to do is, what are all the expenses that you have over the next 90 days? And the whole world is in a global pandemic. It's not just you. Even though it feels like it's just you, it is not just you. It feels so personal that you're a failure, that you did something wrong. take all of that bullshit out of the equation. Call a girlfriend, call a best friend, talk to your spouse, somebody, and just get them to slap that right out of you. It's there. It's a true story that we tell ourselves. I don't mean true story. It's a story that we tell ourselves. You're not the only one thinking it right now. You are thinking it, and just get that out of the equation. Don't don't do that to yourself. If you're going to make up a story, make it a good one, right? So that's my preaching on that. Look at the numbers that are going out over the next 90 days and go through each line item and have a conversation with them. What bill can you move to the end of the loan? Your car payment, can you say, can we take the next 3 months of car payments and move them to the back end of the loan? Insurance, credit cards, for sure. Your rent, your mortgage, like what are the things that you can move to? Student loans, whatever it is, business loans, equipment loans, what can you move to the back end of the loan? What are some things that they can do? Can they do zero interest in the short term? Like get creative and have the conversations, but you need to start there because it's going to give you, the actual numbers that you're working from, and fact plus faith is going to wash out any fear that you have. That, and this isn't a religious conversation. It's just, faith, source, higher power, whatever, universe, spirit. But fact plus faith is going to eliminate any fear because you're operating from really good zones. So get really clear on your numbers over the next 90 days, negotiate down what you can, and now you're working with a pretty much true baseline. Look at what you have in savings. Most Americans have less than $400 in savings. So if you're one of them, do not go down the shame spiral. Don't do it to yourself. We're all struggling, right? We were never taught money. We were never taught this shit, but we're just supposed to, you're an adult now, go figure it out. What? No, 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 no. Don't shame yourself through this. None of us know any of this stuff. So if you're looking at your money before and you're really not in a good spot and now you're looking ahead and things have dried up, we're going to go through some ways you can make some money, but look at what you have maybe in savings. How long can that last? Or if you don't want to touch it, then don't, but just operate from a place of fact and know what it is that you need to bring in, not what you want to have happen, not that you want to, make $10,000 a month. And if you want to, that's great. I'm just going to challenge you to think that maybe now's not the time to, and you could challenge me and say, now's the time I'm going to, and fucking have at it, man. Enjoy. And I want take pictures when it's coming in. Like, I definitely would love for that to happen for you. But for most of us, it's really a point of, we're in such kind of emotional overwhelm right now that is not wrong, by the way. Your feelings are never wrong. That it's really just a focus of, we're all processing a global grieving of life as we knew it, 100%. There needs to be space in the energy bucket for that. So from a financial perspective, what are the actual numbers that you need to bring in? And I know most people are probably looking at some sort of a deficit of a couple $1,000s, which sounds like a lot, but we're going to walk through like how that's not and how we can kind of cobble some things together or pivot, for when your business does resume. We'll go through some different strategies, but all of that to say, you're not in this alone, even though it totally feels like it, even though logically we know that we're not, but emotionally we create that bullshit story that says that you fucked up. And it's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You did everything right up until now. Things were decent up until now. Here's a great socially acceptable pause to take inventory of everything and, keep it moving forward. So that's my rant on that. I should have filled up my water bottle before. I'm going to have to sip slowly. Okay. Next, here's where I want you to think of, pivoting if possible. Not everyone is able to pivot. And many of you might not think that you're able to pivot, and maybe this will shed some light on it. So this is for those, if you can pivot, let's talk about it. The segment after this is going to be, if you can't pivot, what you can do instead. So I've got both bases covered for you guys. Okay. Let's talk about some of the tactical, practical things you can do right now to bring money in. And if you know someone who's in one of these businesses, please invite them into the group. Please share this training with them. Let them hear the ideas that I'm sharing with them, that I'm talking about, so that maybe it can get their brain going, and maybe something I say they're able to act on, or maybe they're able to take it and kind of run with it in their own right. You know what I mean? So I definitely encourage you to share this. This is just free training. So teaching versus doing, if possible. As a massage therapist, you can't touch anybody right now, right? Can't touch this, MC Hammer style. Sorry, had to do it. But you can't touch anybody right now. So What do you do instead? Does that mean that your business is done and over with? Absolutely not. Teach versus doing. Here's one example. You have couple clients that used to do couple massages. Well, you know that they're home trapped together. So why not set up a Zoom session with them where you're teaching them how to give couple massages to each other, right? It would be hilarious. It would be super fun. They would enjoy it. I mean, so many fun things could come out of it, because the last thing that you want to have happen during this pandemic is to go radio silent on your clients. You do not want to have your business before pandemic happens, you don't do anything, and you come out on the other side and you're like, where'd all the people go? Right? You don't want that to happen. So this is kind of a top of mind strategy. It's a way that you can add value. It's a way that you can get paid. I mean, $150 for, a training via Zoom, and then they get to keep the recording so they can go back and kind of learn those techniques. That doesn't mean that you've lost them as a client once, things resume and you can go back to your regular business giving actual massages. They're not going to do it right. That they're just going to have more fun with it than anything, maybe learn a technique to really get the knot out. But at the back end of this, she's going to come in and be like, I think my husband gave me a bigger knot on this side. And then you can work that out. But it's a way to kind of help each other in the meantime. So that's one idea for like massage therapists, for example. Hairdressers. Oh, Jesus, Lord, help us, please. I got a pixie, man. I just cut my own bangs. This is what it's coming down to. We're at the beginning and I'm already like losing my shit with my hair. Have a Facebook group that's maybe, paid for membership base. I'll give you an example of what a lot of people are doing right now that I never thought I would be one of them, but we're all in this boat together. Is if you find this valuable, contribute something, on PayPal. Here's my PayPal link. I'll actually drop it in right now so you guys can see. Not anything I ever thought I'd be doing. Let me see if I can get that in there. There it goes. Yay for shortcuts. Just as an example, this is something that you can do in Facebook Lives to bring in some money. If you have a Facebook group specific for your clients, you can drop in your PayPal link and say, if you find this valuable, please contribute to the fund, right? Show me in hard currency that this is valuable and I'll keep producing content. You'd be surprised. You'd really be surprised, guys. And that's nothing that has to get public about who sent what at what amount. That's just between you and them. But you can do things like that. You can set up a Facebook group where it's membership based. You can reach out to your clients and do private things, but that hairdressers, that they're cutting their own hair. That they're using box dye. That when this thing ends, you're going to have just train wrecks entering the salon, just ugly, hurt looking train wrecks coming in. That's going to be more work than it's worth. So how can you minimize and mitigate that situation going back out of pandemic when you're like, oh my God, the box dye that I have to deal with, the whatever? Like, what are some professional tips that you can share with us on a paid for basis so that we're less train wrecky when we come back, right? That would be so valuable for people. Nail tech, same things. I am holding on to mine for dear life. Thought I broke one the other day. Thank God I didn't. Definitely got down on my knees and I was like, thank you, Jesus, for letting me keep all 10 nails for as long as I can. But how do we take our nails off if we don't have acetone? Jada Pinkett just posted about this on Instagram. She's like, how do I take my nails off? I bought all the kids different stuff and food and whatever, but I didn't buy myself acetone. How do we take them out without completely damaging our nails? How do we maybe do different things with our nails with the kids? Like that could be a Facebook group. That could be teaching us how to do nail maintenance in between so that when we're going back for our full sets post pandemic, we're doing it with the healthiest, strongest nails instead of, again, train wrecks, right? Restaurants, all the restaurants have been impacted, right? And a lot of them, what they're doing are, and all of these examples, gift cards, of course, are ideas and that sort of thing. But restaurants are hit, especially with, it's a tipping business, and all of these are service-based businesses. So some ideas that you can do in a restaurant, obviously takeout is one thing that you can do, but let's think outside the quarantine box. Some other things that you can do from a restaurant perspective is, that you have somebody in your world, say that you're, working in the restaurant, that there's those, foodie type clients that you have or customers that come in fairly regularly. And they're always asking you, like, tell me the secret ingredient. Tell them the secret ingredient, right? See if they can make it at home. You've got the foodie people, they've got all the crazy ingredients and stuff. Like, again, Facebook group, private session, setting up the Zoom on the laptop or the phone or whatever, and you're in the kitchen there with them, walking them through different techniques. Like you turn into, teaching chef versus the actual serving chef, right? Using that differently. Let me do a pantry audit, right? Let me see what you have. FaceTime, Zoom me into your pantry. Let me see all the different things. And I'll put together kind of, put this, a little bit of that, and use a little bit of that, and kind of have like, a done with you kitchen chef experience, right? How cool would that be? Restaurant owners partner with massage therapists and vice versa to really give couples, an experienced date night in, right? Maybe do like a massage package with, an in-home chef experience, on a whatever night, because it doesn't matter. Just different things that you could do, or you could do at lunch, you could do at breakfast. It doesn't, I mean, time is so fluid right now, but these are different things that you can do to kind of work together, bring in some money. Again, this isn't the business that you're going to have forever, or maybe it is. Maybe you're like, fuck the restaurant. I actually like teaching better. I don't know, but this is just about what can you do to stay top of mind relevant with your existing customer client base, so that you're still adding value, you're still bringing in some money, everyone's helping everyone, and on the back end you're super relevant, if not more relevant than you were before, instead of just letting this time be just a silent pause, because that's the last thing that you want to have happen. So I hope this part was valuable. And again, if you know someone in one of these categories or like categories, please invite them into the group so that they can have access to this information, or share this if you can outside the group. I don't know how that works. And additionally, if there is a specific business that you have questions about, that you're like, how do I pivot? Let me know, drop it in the comments, post another post in the group and tag me in it, and I'll be more than happy to address that specifically. So moving on, for time's sake, for those of you that aren't necessarily able to pivot, maybe for those of us that were already kind of pivot, I was in a pivot before all of this shit, right? I was already pivoting my business to go in a different direction. And then this came out of nowhere and I'm like, fuck. So for those of us that might not be able to, really pivot with our existing customer base, we were in a pivot before, or just for whatever reason, we can't do that, or your brain isn't going. If your brain isn't going, then, let's talk and maybe I can, jigger something in there. But for those of us who might be laid off and you want to bring in some extra money, you did your four currency inventory and you're like, I didn't like any of it, and you get rid of it. These are some ideas of things you can do in this kind of pressure cooker, 90-day time period, just to get scrappy and bring something in. Because doing a little bit of something, it's going to check off kind of all of those four currencies. You're going to get out of your own brain. If you're going to tell yourself a story, make it a good one, so that you're doing something productive, moving something forward, bringing in some money. When that cash register rings, when that PayPal button goes off and I get $20 in from somebody, $10 in from somebody, $100 in from somebody, would that have excited me pre-pandemic? I would have been like, no, I'm in a fucking spiral, right? But now it's like, yes, validation, this is working. Something's coming in. I'm giving my energy to the people and they're giving me a little bit of money in exchange, right? We have to kind of just flip currencies around. So ways to get scrappy. And again, it's just for now. It's just for now. And nobody's going to judge you. The only person judging you is yourself. So just have that conversation, get a girlfriend on the phone, reach out to me, somebody, and we'll just kind of slap it out of you, right? From a distance, 6 feet away. I get it. So you can do some gig work, right? In the gig economy, we know this is Uber. Obviously, you're not going to be shuttling people around. That's not the safest thing to do unless you have like a really big car and you can keep them at 6 feet away, but still don't recommend that either. So what you can do is Uber Eats, right? A lot of that around, partner with a restaurant. Maybe they're not on Uber Eats and maybe you can help them get set up so that you can be the delivery person. Excuse me, so that you can be their delivery person. There's a lot of different things you can do there. But maybe start an Uber Eats, gets you out of the house, you're making a little bit of money, gets you driving around. And you start to kind of build up your Uber rating, because again, it's kind of social proof. So you start to build up your Uber rating, and then maybe you like it. And maybe like on the other side of this, you know what, on a day off, I'm going to go Uber around. I know a lot of people that do that. I took an Uber one time and, a young woman picked me up and I was like, I'll talk to a wall. I was talking to her and she was like, yeah, I'm a teacher. We're on break right now. So I Uber on my breaks. And I was like, that's awesome. Right. She had no shame about it. Just we're all helping each other. That was great. So that's one idea. Another is Upwork. Many of you may or may not be familiar with this. I know more people are less familiar with this that I'm talking to. Upwork is upwork.com. It's one of many sites. I'm just using this as an example. I can't teach you guys the whole internet, but it's one of many sites where it's basically for freelancers. So if you're an administrative assistant, if you can do data entry, if you can do some graphic design, if you're really great at putting PowerPoints together, if you're great at updating LinkedIn profiles, if you know a thousand different things, right? You can set up an account on Upwork where you can kind of bid on projects and people can kind of search you out for projects and, get some projects under your belt and, do some data entry for $10, $12 an hour, for $20 for the project, right? You get to kind of start using this platform and start working with people virtually. If you haven't done that before, you're starting to build up the social proof. I have a friend of mine who exclusively works through Upwork. She has 3 long-term clients. I think last time I talked to her, she had 3 long-term clients. Each of them, she was working about 10 hours a week, and that was more than she was making in her business prior, right? It can be done. One of the strategies I would use is go on Upwork and look around. You always want to look at your competition, see what kind of people are posting, see what kind of prices are. What I would do from a strategic perspective is your first like 3 to 5 jobs, I would price them really low just to kind of get some work going, test everything, get that strong social proof, get the 5-star ratings or whatever they give, get the really well written testimonials from people that you're good, your correspondence is great and timely, you delivered above expectation. You want to get all that on your profile as social proof, and then you can up your rate. Right? That's what I recommend because people are going to sort from rate. They're going to sort from who's in America because it's an international site. They're going to sort by who can get it done the fastest. Like there's different sort categories. So kind of get familiar with how people look at it, and then you know kind of how to position yourself. So that's the gig economy, things you can do from home that no one's going to judge you for trying to make money, dude. You got to do what's right for you. So that's some ideas kind of getting scrappy for now in the gig economy. And again, if you're kind of looking at, I didn't like what my business was before, this is a great way to kind of test different things, especially in Upwork. Like you can get into someone else's business and see what they're doing. You can try a different skill set and say, I actually like doing that, right? That's a great way to kind of test different things. The second category I'll talk about is sell your stuff, right? We're all looking around at all of our stuff right now and we're like, oh my God, where did all this come from? Right? eBay is not what it was when I was starting off talking about my eBay days in the beginning. You don't have to do HTML for dummies. You don't have to do that. You've got your phone. You could take a picture of something and post it online within like 30 seconds, and then the world can see it. You can ship things from your house. Poshmark, ThreadUp, Facebook Marketplace. Do you want people coming into your house? No, but if you're selling like a piece of furniture or a toy or something a little heavy, you can leave it outside for them. They can come by and get it. They can Venmo or PayPal you the money. You can move an item from your house to another person without ever having physical contact, right? Because those are things we need to think about right now. So those are some ideas of you can look around and we don't put things online because we're like embarrassed that we ever owned that, right? But somebody else is going to want it because you have to remember if you bought it, there was a time when you liked it too. So put it online if you don't want it. And the thing is, maybe you're not sure if you want it or not. Maybe you don't know if you want to get rid of it. Put it online. If somebody buys it, send it to them. If they don't, keep it, right? So those are some ideas about things you can get scrappy, and you can layer these, of course. Go do some Uber, have some stuff online. When you come home from doing your Uber Eats, wow, 3 sweaters sold, right? Getting scrappy, guys. The last thing I'll talk about is conversations that convert to cash. This is not a time, especially for those of us who are already home-based entrepreneurs, for those who are coaches, consultants, for those of us really in that service-based lane, knowledge-based lane already. This is not the time to go radio silent. This is the time to, if you can, double down on conversations. If you can't, work with your energy flow. Again, we're all processing a lot emotionally, and you have to give yourself space for that, because if you don't, as someone who's gone through significant trauma, if you don't give yourself time to process the trauma, it will carry with you, and you cannot create clarity from chaos. You will only create more confusion. I'll say that again. You cannot create clarity from chaos. You will only create more confusion. And clarity, there's a lot of writer downers. Yes, exactly. A lot of people are looking at it, so it's easy to kind of find work on Upwork. Thank you, Simone. So clarity comes through conversation. Confusion comes from thought. So this is why I'm such a proponent of having conversations with other people. If you can't do it because your energy is low and you just can't do it, then don't do it. And know that at some point you do need to kind of resume and start having conversations and start kind of getting yourself out there. So give yourself time to have your freak out moments, carve out space to really, have your pity party. You have to honor that. This is not lip service. Like, this is legit from someone who's gone through this. Like, you have to carve out time to honor the processing of emotions. And when you have the space, I wrote it in an article. I forget how I phrased it exactly, but it was something to the effect of, when you know you have the space to lose it, here's what it is. When you know you have the space to lose it, the time and space to lose it, like you have an appointment on your calendar to just lose it, you can hold it together better the rest of the time. It's magic how that happens. So you have to honor your emotions. You have to honor the global grieving that we're all going through right now. You have to honor the grieving of the normalcy that we had and all of these different things. And you still have to be talking to people. Conversations create cash. So they convert to cash. So what I mean by this is get on the phone with people and just start networking. We're all home. We've all got time to do it. Get on the phone with people and just start networking, just start having conversations. And through those conversations, you can genuinely say to them, how can I best support you? How can I help you right now? What support do you need going through this? And they might say, I'm really looking for this, or what's a good book that you've been reading? What's a show I can veg out to? Or what are you doing for exercise? Or what are you doing for meal planning? I'm so sick of eating the same thing every day. Or actually, I need someone who can. And now here's where you're thinking, is that within my wheelhouse? And you can say, oh, actually, I might be able to help you with that. Right? If I was on the phone with someone and they were like, I need some help with some copywriting, I would be like, oh, I might be able to help you with that. Tell me more about it. And if it's not me, I'll find someone or I'll recommend a source, but that's totally within my wheelhouse. Do I advertise myself as a copywriter? No. Am I going to start a copywriting business? No. But right now, if someone needs help with that, totally within my wheelhouse, 100%. Love words. And that would come out in a conversation. It doesn't mean I update my LinkedIn profile to say I do copywriting. It doesn't mean I change my website to say I do copywriting. It means that I had a conversation with someone. They have a need. I have a skill set. Let's have a conversation around that. And then here's some language that you can use in that conversation to say, let's find a way to make this mutually beneficial for both of us. What budget were you thinking? Because you don't have a rate. You don't have a copywriting rate. You don't know what that is, and say, what budget did you have in mind for this? And they say $200. And you're like, that's great. Sold. Easy peasy. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Let's do it. Let's make it done. That's the kind of vibe that we're in right now. That's totally okay to do. I recommend doing this all the time anyways, especially if you want to like shift and kind of do some market research, what's out there. But that's definitely something I recommend right now. And I do have a resource for you that's 100% free. It's called the Conversation Creation Challenge. It's another Facebook group that I run. And there's actual trainings in there. You guys know how the Facebook groups have the unit tab. There's a unit tab for the 5 components of the Conversation Creation Challenge, where I literally walk you through in 5 steps how to actually do human outreach to another person to get them on the phone in a non-spammy, salesy way, just to say, hey, you're a human, I'm a human, let's have a conversation. And then I give you the framework for how to have a structured conversation to allow for human rapport, but also to make it mutually beneficial, right? Because the last thing you want to do is get on the phone with someone and you're stuck in an energy drain with them, or you get on the phone with someone and it's like a fucking sales conversation and you're like, I actually thought I was talking to a human today, but that's not what I'm getting. So the Conversation Creation Challenge is a totally free Facebook group. The trainings are up there. I did one last week where I updated all the trainings specific to the pandemic. So Some of the messaging language is different and specific to the pandemic so that you just have the words right there that you can send to somebody in a LinkedIn or Facebook message to get them on the phone. So you don't have to just call people out of the blue because none of us like doing that. It's weird. So that's where the conversation creation challenge is set up. You can just jump into that. And additionally, there's another tab in the units called Teaching Tuesday. And there's just a bunch of trainings in there because my kind of, if I'm good at anything, my one zone of genius, like I said, is words. But it's really like sales conversations, our relationship with money. As I was saying before, we've never been taught this. So don't go into a shame spiral about it. So that's a lot of what the teachings are going to focus on: our sales conversations, sales process and flow, connecting with people, doing messaging outreach, our relationship with money, why we're so weird about it, and some, language. I'm all about the scripts and the words, like what are some actual things you can say. There's some role play in there. So it's really, really a juicy group that you can jump into for, continued training. And I really encourage you guys to obviously continue to do this outreach. So thank you for staying and playing with me here. Now I have to figure out how to end this thing. I'm going to do stop share. Okay, cool. Yay, I'm back. Awesome. So, yay, good. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah, we did go longer. I always do that. So, for those of you who did find this valuable, pandemic hair. For those of you who found this valuable and you know someone who would benefit from it, someone who has one of those businesses that I mentioned or has a business like one of those businesses that I mentioned, please reach out to them and invite them into this group. Or if there's a way that you can share this outside of the group, please feel free to do that too. I just want to get this information out there. I just want to help people with this information. And thank you for staying and playing. It's great to see you guys. And if you found this valuable, and you're so compelled to, my PayPal link is in there. Let me know that it was valuable in whatever way it works for you. And I appreciate you in advance. You're welcome, Simone. And have a great day, guys. Go easy on yourself. Take inventory of those 4 currencies we talked about, and I will see you later. Bye.